Awesome. My name is Brandon Krieger. I'm from KNSS Consulting Group. I'm a social media marketing consultant. I'm here with my co-host, Monty, who's from Spy Gadget Rentals. He's an expert in smart devices, Internet of Things, security systems, any type of device that you're looking at, as well as, when it comes to cybersecurity, internet security. So it's great that Monty and myself have come together to help provide you this cybersecurity for you and your business. Monty, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. How you doing, Brian?
Oh, awesome. I had a busy week. I think last week you guys saw me doing a cyber chat, doing the blab, this cyber for you. It was actually in a hotel room in Ottawa. It was awesome because I was actually on a business trip. I got asked if I would like to go to Ottawa for a business trip, and I thought, I was gonna have some time to study because I have an exam coming up for security. And what happened was I had 4 days away, thinking I was gonna have a little bit of isolation, a little time to myself. And actually, what I ended up was I met a gentleman in the bar late at night at 11 o'clock. I don't drink, but I was just there trying to change my environment of studying, and he was hosting an event for cybersecurity. And it was for kids. It was for cybersecurity and cyber threats. And if you're in Canada, it's cybertip.ca. And it's a reporting center for kids that are abused, they're bullied, child pornography, all online. And they're showing that the attacks are up to 40,000 per month. New cases reported.
40,000?
40,000 per month. In Canada alone. This is not United States.
This just that place.
Just Canada alone.
Wow. Yeah, that really shows us that there's a whole bunch going on, and we really need to get a handle on this problem. Definitely. Yeah. Oh,
for sure. And then today, just kind of so you guys are watching, today we're going to be talking about social engineering, but we're going to catch you kind of up what's going on in the industry, what's happening, a little bit of news, a little bit of information, and then we're going to dive deep into social engineering and kind of what you need to know about social engineering. But yeah, Monty, I was there. I was at the event, and there was the mounted police, there was Secret Service, there was the deputy minister. Everyone was there, and they were talking about this, and they were shocked because they had a girl that had been abused. I had been sexually abused, had been assaulted, and she told her story. Wow. And what happened was, what we don't understand when it comes to the cyber world, it continues. It's not that the incident happens and then it's gone. That incident happened, and then her pictures, the assailant, the person that assaulted her, posted those pictures online. And now they're ongoing, and basically they're going viral.
Oh, right? My goodness. Yeah.
So what happens is she's getting attacked, not just from the assailant who assaulted her, but people online now are saying things about her. It's now being shared out. She's being stalked right now, and she has to have restraining orders. She's had to move several times. So when people think about cybersecurity, you really have to think about what you're doing online, what the repercussions are. Now I'm talking about a worst case scenario here, but even if you did something, you posted something that maybe you said something politically, Donald Trump, he's terrible. I would never vote for Donald Trump. And then he becomes president. Right? Now you're going for a job for the government, whatever that may be. That could affect you later. Well, yeah, your views against our new, president was not in line with ours. So sorry, you can't get the job. So you just got to be careful, because that stuff becomes online. That once that's online, it's there.
Right. Yeah, I haven't thought about that as you don't think about the implications as much in terms of how that's going to look later on down the line, because we do get married, we do get jobs, and sometimes what you were doing in the 60s or 70s or whatever doesn't quite align with who you're trying to represent, or which career you're trying to go into later on down the line. So I guess we may want to go back and consider, what does that look like from someone else's perspective who may be looking at us, and be
exactly
ready, worst comes worst, be ready for with an explanation.
Well, you got to think about, you never know what company you're going to work for or what clients they have. Because if they have a client with the government or financial market, and you're doing that, well, they can't have you part of their employment because you're against that one client. That could be one of their bigger clients or one of their top 5, top 10 clients. So
that's true.
You got to be very careful what you say online, right? Because again, you never know how it's going to affect you later. Right? No. So something to think about. And this is a great kind of segue into social engineering, I mean, how people profile people and do the research. Now, before we jump into this, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. What I've been asked for from a few people now is if I would put these blabs, these videos on iTunes for a podcast so people can listen. Now, I know you guys are watching here. What do you guys think? Would you listen to this if it was on a podcast? And
I think that's a good idea. As a matter of fact, I'm a big fan of giving people numerous choices in terms of how they consume information and media. If I'm on a subway or on a train or something, and I don't want to sit there and watch a video, then yeah, I think it'll be a good idea for me to listen to this video. I actually do a lot of my research on not only cybersecurity, now that I'm working with Brandon, but other things as well. And it comes in very, very handy when I don't want to sit there and watch a video, for instance, when I'm walking or exercising or something. So I think it's a good idea.
Okay, so yeah, because I've been asked a few times now, and Ali, what do you think? Yes, no? I've been asked a few times if I would put this on a podcast and iTunes so people can subscribe to it and then they get the updated show right to their mobile device or, whatever they listen to. If it's, their iPod or iPad or iPhone, whatever that may be, they can listen to it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'm working on that right now. I like podcasts that 10 to 15 minutes. So you kind of want them short. Is that what you're saying, Ali? Okay. So yeah, well, the podcasts are going to be the hour show, just because there's a lot of depth, a lot of information, and one of the things that I've been asked for is if I could build this show out. I've got some companies that want to market and advertise with us, right, and promote with the show as long as I can build it out to a good subscriber base. So I was like, you know what, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to grow this out. I was going to do this anyways. So to have, companies that I trust to be part of the advertising, give percentage and discounts to the viewers, to the subscribers, that'd be great. So just a little housekeeping, let you guys know where I'm focusing on, what I'm thinking about. Monty, I mean, I don't know if you want to come along for the ride.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. I think we should talk about it when we get a chance, me and you, and see, what that's going to look like going forward. I think for your audience, I think they're really going to get a lot of benefit, a lot of value. I can see where one of the concerns in terms of cybersecurity definitely translates over into the physical world. So there's definitely complementary services and a lot of overlap. And I think the subscriber base and the viewers and the listeners are going to get a great deal of value out of the partnership, as far as I can. Right.
Exactly. Perfect. Well, yeah, and we'll talk about this offline, but I just kind of want to let you guys know where the show is going and why we're doing this is really to kind of help people. And here's a story kind of to segue into social engineering. So on the weekend, I was at Best Buy and a hard drive failed, and I was going to Best Buy and I needed to get a hard drive. So I was sitting there talking to one of the reps, and I was looking for a new earbuds as well. So I knew which hard drive I was getting, Western Digital, but I was talking to one of the sales reps. And I was asking about it, had earbuds. And I said, you know what? Tell me a little bit about, earbuds and which are the best ones. And he started to promote Bluetooth. I said, well, I don't know about Bluetooth. I'd rather have wired because, Bluetooth or any of the types of Wi-Fi can get hacked.
Yeah.
He's like, what? What do you mean it could get hacked? I said, and get compromised. So we went in this long story, and I blew his mind. He was just like, I can't believe it. I sell to at least 15 people to 20 people a week Wi-Fi or Bluetooth devices. Sure. Now I have to go learn about it. He goes, here, let me tell you a story about cybersecurity of something that happened to one of my family members. And he was talking about one of his family members that got a call on the phone. And what happened was she's an immigrant, right? And she's new to the country. And she got called that she had to pay $5,000 to this agency right away. Don't say anything while you're on the phone. Go to your bank. Keep me on the phone. Keep me on your cell phone.
Wow.
Right? Go to your bank. Get the money. Don't tell anyone because we'll come and arrest you. They went through this whole process.
Wow.
And eventually she went to the bank. She was going through the process. The other family, her husband, found out about she was leaving to the bank and whatever. He followed her. He stopped her before the transaction and said, don't do this, don't do this.
Wow.
Told her to hang up the phone. But this comes back down to the compromises what we get through social engineering. right? And this is the thing that you got to look at, your fear tactics. And we'll talk about, social engineering, the definitions, what are they? But what do you think about social engineering in today's world?
I think we really have to understand there's two major things that really hit home with me, Brandon. One is the technological accomplishments and achievements that we're able to embrace to protect our identity, make sure our privacy is intact and such. Another part is the human element. And unfortunately, as much as we can do and as much as we've learned about what to say, what not to say, we are the weak link in the chain. On numerous occasions, we found that, unfortunately, because we want to offer good customer service, as part of our business model, that could be a potential problem, right? So yeah, there's a few reasons why we really have to take a look at how do we make sure that the human element is addressed? Because right now, I think most of the successful attacks are focusing on the people who aren't as aware or sophisticated as they should be, and that's where this is definitely a very timely subject to be looking at.
Well, it was interesting because and I agree with you. And it was interesting to hear that this guy was a Best Buy sales agent, trained to work with these devices and all that, but he had his own story about how his family member got social engineered, and he knew a little bit about it, but not enough to, well, how do I protect myself? How do I prevent that? So let's kind of go first through the definition so you guys were all on the same page. Social engineering is a non-technical method of intrusion hackers using that relies heavily on human interaction, and then often involves tricking people into breaking normal security procedures. It is one of the greatest threats that organizations today encounter, right? And like you're saying, it's one of the things that where human element, we are the ones that get compromised because we might not be thinking, we might not be paying attention. They might be a situation where it's an authoritative figure, and we take their word for that they are the authority and provide the information they ask for. And they go through sometimes a fear tactic, right? I'm the police. I'm this agency. If you don't give me this X is going to happen. You're going to be arrested. You're going to lose money. Something happens. So we go into a fear state where we automatically engage and respond. So it's interestingly, and we'll talk a little bit about demographics, right? Age and generation, because we find that generation, and I'll break down the generations and then go through why they're kind of being hit more than others. So you got your traditionalists, which are generally born between 1928 and 1944. Value authority, top-down approach when it comes to management, hardworking, make do and do without. Then you got your baby boomers, 1945 to 1964. They expect some degree of difference to their opinion, and they're workaholics. Generation X, 1965 to 1979, comfortable with authority, will work as hard as needed, importance of work-life balance. The Generation Y, which are 1980 to 1994, respect must be earned, technology savvy, goal and achievement oriented. And then Generation Z, which is just the new generation that's coming out, as many traits as from 1995 plus, they're saying right now, many traits still to emerge, digital natives, fast decision makers, highly connected. So you kind of look at those demographics, and the research that I was doing is the traditionalists, the baby boomers, and the Generation X are the ones that are getting targeted and hit the most. Right? Those are the ones getting most attacked because the baby boomers and the traditionalists believe in authoritative figures. Right? They believe in if the doctor, the lawyer, the police officer, the government calls them, it's them. Right? Where you kind of look at Generation X, Generation Y, and Generation Z, that in between of Generation X and then Y and Z, they question authority. Okay, who are you? Why are you calling me? What's this about? So when it comes to social engineering, what happens is normally they're trying to profile you, they're trying to get some information, and then they're trying to compromise you on some sort of fear tactic, right? And it's mostly from some sort of gain. PII, which is personal identifiable information,
exactly,
or financial gain, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I want to add this as well, because Brian has mentioned this before, and it's very good to take a look at the the demographics, the differences within the generations as well, and then also let's also remember that we have a lot of information out there on the internet, and as you mentioned before, I can go to Facebook and get a certain amount of information about you, and a lot of that is typically personal because of the nature of Facebook's personal profile page. And then I'll go over to LinkedIn, and because that's more professional, I'll get another side of you in terms of your connections, who you network with, et cetera, et cetera. And then maybe I'll go over to Snapchat, because obviously that's a more informal environment, and I'll get a lot of information about maybe you and your pets and what you do on the weekends or something like that. So we have to be very careful, because on the internet is where we're posting a lot of the various aspects of our lives, and that's where I will get a lot of information. What I'm trying to do, you guys, as a hacker, I'm trying to gain your confidence. Okay, I'm trying to make it seem like I know you. I know a little bit about you. I'll give you an example. I can pretend like I'm your veterinarian. I'm calling you, and I want you to get your pet into my office so we get a quick exam. We heard something about rabies, epidemic in your neighborhood, right? So what I do is I spoof the number to your veterinarian. I call you because now I have the name of your dog. How did I get it? Because I took a picture of your dog at a picnic or somewhere, some event, and maybe I can zoom in. Now you may laugh and think, "Wow, that's really going way out." But it has been done, and in one way or the other, we can catch. As a hacker, I'm speaking from. We catch you in these particular situations where we get that type of information. Again, zooming through photos, various photos, and finally get the name of the dog. So I'll say, "Okay, look, Buster needs to come in and get a checkup," and by the way, and you get more and more information. So there's numerous things that we need to be aware of. When you're taking pictures, what is behind you? Is it are you in your office? Are you at home? Who's near you? And a lot of that information is exactly what we need as hackers. From a perspective, as if I was a hacker, that's what we'd be looking for.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about like ethical hacking, right? So I'm starting to and getting into ethical hacking. So ethical hacking is the way we're going to hack into someone's business, someone's life, whatever that may be, ethically, to show them where their vulnerabilities. A hacker is on the other side in some kind of a malicious intent. So what Monty is saying right now, as an ethical hacker, he's creating this profile. He's doing the same thing as a hacker would do, is he's doing the research on you. He's making sure that he can collect as much information, create a profile on you, and see where you're most likely to be compromised. So if that's your pet Buster, or if that's your grandmother, or because we know you have a business and you deal with the government, and you might not have to do your taxes in, we'll look at that threat vector where I can compromise.
Brian, how do you want to handle callers? We'll get to them later, or do you think we can?
Well, I mean, let's jump Ali in. I mean, Ali's a...
Oh, yeah, long-time listener, follower.
See what Ali has to say about social engineering. But yeah.
Hello, guys.
Ali.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing, Ali?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good.
So what do you think about social engineering and what we're talking about?
So, yeah, I was about to comment about what you said. Like most of the time, people help social engineers because of their fear of authority or something. Mm-hmm. But also I would like to add that human in nature are nice. And if someone asks you for a favor or something and you have a relation with them, usually jump in to help. And like this is a tactic also from social engineers to target you based on that.
Exactly.
And exactly what we're talking about is like how they profile you, because they could profile you as a charitable, vulnerable person that gives you, all these donations, and you're out there and you're doing that. For sure, I'm going to say, hey, I'm from the Cancer Society. Or, hey, you know what, Ali, since we've talked to you, can you come out to the Cancer Foundation that we're doing this weekend? Oh, by the way, can you donate $300? Because, it's a great fund. And you're like, oh, my God, I'm so good. I'm so charitable. I'm going to do it. Here, let me share my PayPal link, and you do that. after that, you never hear from me again, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
That's very interesting that you brought that up, Ali, because in my little bit of research that I've been doing, human nature is such that if I do Ali a favor now, he will feel obligated to return that favor. And see that psychologically, I know he's going to want to return the favor. But what I don't want to do is make him feel as if there's a direct connection between what I'm doing right now as compared to what he's going to do after the little bit later on. I don't want him to make the connection because he'll obviously see that there's a quick trade-off and there's something that I want, right? But I do want to make absolutely sure that he understands that I did something to him. And that has been a very good tactic. And believe it or not, people will reciprocate and be nice, and they'll let their hair down because I did something, right? I gave away some cookies, candy, maybe a favor, who knows? And then that person will later on down the line want to talk to me, want to interact with me, and that's where we get a chance to get more information and work our way into their lives somehow.
And that's the term is called reciprocity, right?
Okay.
Right. So what happens is I give Ali here's a free ebook, right? I give it to Ali, and then Ali goes, "Oh, thank you." Now what I expect him to give me something in return, right? So
exactly.
If it's his time, if it's some money or whatever, I expect something in return. So that reciprocity, but that goes, I mean, we're just using those simplistic scenarios, but it goes more than that.
I can give you back a malicious ebook, for example.
Right. Well, I could give you one that's coded with ransomware, right? So what happens? It locks your system, and oh my God, I didn't know. And then, sure enough, now you're paying $1,000 to get your site unhacked, right?
Right. Yeah. That's funny. I just want to throw a test example out there in a real world situation. Verizon Wireless has enterprise solutions part of their business. And this was an interesting test because they sent out 150,000 test emails to 2 security partners. And a lot of times, when you're trying to get people to give in and compromise, their own accounts, even in corporate America, unfortunately, that's where a lot of this takes place. They found out they got 23% of recipients to open the email, and 11% actually clicked on the attachment. So this was a test. And
you're saying this is a security company, right?
Yeah, 2 security partners were working with Verizon. Verizon sent out 150,000 test emails to the 2 partners for the specific purpose of trying to figure out how many people would actually, 1, open the email, 2, click on the attachment. There was no payload or no malware at this time, thank goodness, but they were astounded by the idea that despite all of the education, all the publicity that's going on, that because it only takes 1, 2, Brandon, to get me into your network and to embed something on the network and hang out there and collect information.
It takes 1 access point. Doesn't matter if you hit 1,000 people, if you hit 20 people. If I can get into 1, I'm in. Right?
Okay,
and it's the analogy of I tell people, like the house. Doesn't matter if you have the security on the doors, you have the alarm system on, but if that one window is opened up, I'm in, right? So that one window is that one person, Joan, for example, that clicks on that link and runs that script, runs that payload, and now we're in. Now, depending on her level of permissions and access, depends on how far I'm into the system, but now at least I've got an access point.
Yeah,
right?
This is why social engineering works, because it targets the weakest link. You're targeting a human. Mm-hmm. And as you said, the phishing to get people to download the attachment or something that was sent to the whole company. And now with social engineering, you can do spearfishing attack. You're targeting only one person at that company to do something I can find out your hobbies or something and communicate to you I have the same interest as you and I do the same things as you, and we start sharing files and I get access through you because of that thing.
Let's talk.
I like that point. Yeah, I just want to elaborate on that real quick, because that's another critical area that I'm reading about, because actually in the small business community, that's exactly what's happening, Ali. A lot of times what's happening is the hackers are collecting a certain amount of information, and they're spoofing corporate email accounts. So I send out an email that looks like it's from HQ or somewhere, right? And I say, Ali, I'm sorry, we having trouble paying you. Can you give us a little bit? Can you correct this information, right? Social Security, maybe you need to update that, or some other personally identifiable information that I want to collect on you. So we're spoofing the corporate email system to get you to give up information, so that you end up compromising your own security as well. So that's a very good point. So and it's coming from, it looks like a trusted email. So
let's define a little bit more, because I mean, people that are watching, what is spearfishing? Spearfishing basically means any group demographic, they're targeting a certain, group. Doesn't matter if it's, a cycling group, a business group, whatever. I mean, it's a group organization they've done a research on that they're targeting, because there's spearfishing and then there's whaling. And whaling means that they're going after someone that's kind of a high whale, a big whale, someone that has lots of money, lots of maybe followers, whatever that may be. They're going after that to compromise them. So there's all different types of social engineers attacks. And this is kind of like, we got phishing attacks, we got whaling, spearfishing, phishing with the V, which is over voice. I think there's one smishing, which is over text and voice messaging services. So you've got all these different styles of social engineering now. They're using different mediums to attack people. And, like you said, they're profiling, how they're going to attack. Is it phishing? They're just trying to go global market. Is it spearfishing? They're going after a specific group. Is it whaling? They're going after people that have some sort of authority, identity, or financial, benefits. Right. So it's really kind of interesting when we look at social engineering on a high level. These are the methods, what they're profiling someone, and then how they're attacking. You can kind of tell why they're attacking them, right? When we look at whaling, of course, they're going after a specific financial gain or a big authoritative gain. When they're spearfishing, they're going after a group for some sort of reason. Maybe it's a group that is vulnerable. Maybe it's a group because they want to go after them because the group said, you know what, we're the best security company in the world. And they're going, no, you're not. Watch this. Right? And then someone like Monty was saying with Verizon, where they showed 20% of people, read the email, 10% click through. Well, even that for a security company that is supposed to be the experts in the field, knowing what they should be doing, that's a little scary, because you think of, they have the knowledge. Now, what about the general population? What about, our family members, our friends, our colleagues that might not even be in security? How are we going to educate them? What do you guys think?
Well, what do you think, Ali? How do you look from perspective of the various social media sites? If I were to do a check on you, do you have an idea how that would look if I went to like 4, 5, 6 of the major accounts, whether or not I can get some idea in terms of who you are, what you like, or something?
Actually, I'm good at it, because currently I'm doing a research about social media, security threats from social media use. So, we're currently studying this because educating the people is the main thing. And
right.
Basically, social engineering depends on information gathering, and that's why it used to be time consuming. But right now, you can do your check on social media in 5-10 minutes, and you can get a general profile about that person. And if you want to target him, so you can follow him for a couple of more months, know what he's up to doing and things like that, and that can compromise someone. Even if someone is security professional or something, sometimes he will let go some small piece of information that he thinks it's all right to be shared, and it's not going to be compromising him. But at the end, small information can compromise big companies. So to be safe, you should be disconnected, but at the same time, you don't want to be disconnected because you want to get information you want to share with the people. So
let's bring a point about that, Ali. So you're saying you should be disconnected. What if you were, Ali? You're a security professional. You've gone out. You've disconnected from all. What if I create a profile and call myself Ali? Right?
Yeah, that's it. People around you should be aware of everything.
Well, that's the thing, right? So what happens in this day and age, which is really kind of scary, is that, and I've heard the same kind of, discussion is that, well, I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to go completely offline. But the problem is what happens is what if a hacker, right, unethically creates your profile, connects with your followers, connects with your business partners, creates relationships, talks in your speech and what you do, you don't know because you're offline. So you're kind of, there's one of those things that it's better to have a profile and keep doing research, because when you start to see things are happening, you can defend against it. But if you're completely offline now, you don't know what's going on. So it's one of those mixtures right now where it's better to be online and be safe and secure and educated than be completely disconnected and not know.
Yeah. I'll give a really good example. Just one second, Ali. There was an individual, a reporter, a journalist by the name of Kevin Roos. Does that sound familiar, Brandon?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, for those of you guys who haven't got a chance to look at this particular situation, Kevin Roos only has a million or 2 million YouTube YouTube views. His situation was this. He volunteered to get hacked. He actually went to DEF CON, which is a major hacking convention given once a year in Las Vegas, and he volunteered to let the guys hack into his personal life. And what they found out was they actually owned Kevin Roos. They spoofed his telephone number by calling into, I think it was Verizon, the local service provider. And they, actually it was a female, supposedly the wife of Kevin Roos, who needed to get access to the account. And she actually changed the password, put another person on the account, a daughter on the account as well. They spoofed one of his websites that Kevin Roos used, and they fooled him into clicking on what was supposedly a security, a SSL certificate that needed to be updated, and Kevin Roos actually gave them the one password, the master password from the password manager. Okay, of all passwords to give out, he gave out the one that was the master password. So, and that opened up, that gave them access to all of his trading accounts, bank accounts, et cetera, and they could have literally wiped him out completely. Okay, he would have been bankrupt and penniless if they would have used that information for nefarious purposes. So I think, Brandon is hitting on something that's very, very integral to who we are and what we're doing online now. There's a very little opportunity right now to be offline and still participate in all the things that we do on a daily basis. So we want to monitor and we want to make absolutely sure, what do we look like? And let me ask you a question, Brandon, because where I'm going with this, you guys, I want to know from Ellie and everyone else, should we actually be doing the equivalent of inviting white hat hackers like Brandon, for instance, to come out, visit us, not only our businesses, but our personal lives as well, and see what do we look like as far as vulnerabilities are concerned? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. What do you think, Ali?
For sure, I like for any organization or someone who's interested in information security, there should be part of their security assessment is a personal check on their information, social media, what information they give to others, and to know the type of attacks that they can fall on, what is social engineering and how can they protect themselves from social engineering.
Right.
So you're saying just companies?
Mostly companies and anyone who's interested to increase his security.
What about you, Ali, personally? Do you think there's something that could affect you if you invited Brandon out to your residence and said, look, we got Wi-Fi, we have Bluetooth, we have, all these things going on. Can you take over my life, my accounts? Can you get information on me that you shouldn't have? Do you think that may be important from a consumer perspective?
For me personally, not really, but for some other people, it is important to them. So security awareness is a big thing. So not everyone can do this. Not everyone can afford this. Not everyone is willing to do this. But there are customers who are looking for this for sure.
See, I'm on the other side. I agree with Ali when it comes to business, but I'm on the other side when it comes to personal. I think everyone needs to at least take an introduction course, right, to cyber
Right, yeah.
security, cyber awareness, security awareness. Everyone needs to take an introduction course to it because we're taught in school about safety, stranger danger, if you see a stranger, then you go to the
Exactly.
police. We're taught about physical. But because of this day and age of technology, we're not really taught on a global scale about security awareness. We're kind of taught about the benefits and the features. Oh my God, you got an iPhone, you can take pictures, you can do all this great thing, take pictures of your family, do this, do that, right? But we don't talk about like the security awareness is that, yeah, that picture that you just took of your family members now got posted online, and now, that's sharing their personal information. And that can be now socially engineered to compromise not just you, but your entire family or whoever's in that photo, because now I know who they are. I can go check out their profile and I can dig deep. But
Right, exactly.
we're not really taught about
Yeah.
security awareness. So I think, and this is like when I talked about earlier in the show about, being in Ottawa and going to that cybersecurity for children, the awareness in that, and you see how they're getting compromised. Well, there's no difference from children to teenagers to adults. There's so many compromises going on a social engineering basis that it's growing and growing, but people just don't know what to do. It's kind of like, yeah, I've heard of someone that this happened to. And then the next comment is, well, what are we supposed to do?
Well, that's a major issue, and that's what we need to think about, Elliot. That was kind of a tricky question. I don't mean to deceive you, but yeah, that's where we want to go with this. Really, we want to take a look at how, is it ever too young? Are you ever too young to start getting an education? In other words, if Ali has this major corporation, he's a big CEO, and he does everything to lock down his systems at work, at the company, what is the possibility of me interacting with your children, right? If you had some, I don't know if you do or not, but what about your children? What about your wife? What about your kids, etc. So yeah, I think we need to take a look at where are all the vulnerabilities? Because if I can compromise your wife's security, then maybe I can get access to Ali, right? And so yeah, and then all of a sudden, you get emails from some far flung office that says, Ali, we need to double check some things. Can you help us out, right? And then all of a sudden, yeah, you're vulnerable. So I think we need to take a look at children and very young people and what happens in our personal lives, and hopefully that will translate more effectively over into the corporate environment. Because see, once you get to work, and if it's a new paradigm in terms of, okay, now I need to start being aware, right? But what if I'm already thinking about that before I get to work, because of the things that I'm learned at home and the good practices and best practices that I'm implementing at home.
Exactly. And I think that's why I was saying, like, it's got to be kind of a global approach, because what happens is any access point, it can be your work, it could be a colleague at work, it can be a family member, it could be your wife, it could be your children, are all access points now when it comes to the digital era, because they all have some sort of technology. Right? How many kids have phones? How many kids have iPads, computers? They're all access points to, potentially compromise. And that's why I was talking about, like, with the social engineering profile, is you look at where's the easiest way to compromise. Right? As an ethical hacker, you kind of go through and say, okay, if I can compromise little Billy, because little Billy's watching YouTube videos and he's clicking on, and he's the easiest one because he's just clicking on everything. Well, guess what? I'm going to try to connect with him somehow, send him some, payload or malicious, code, some malware, and try to get into the system so now I can get in. Right? And this is what I'm talking about. Like, so cybersecurity awareness or security awareness needs to be for the whole family, needs to be for the business. And this is why companies, and I believe this, strongly, is companies need to bring in their family members and all that, for security awareness training, because the employee might be aware, might know what's going on, but the employee might work from home, right? The employee might work remotely, right? And if they do that, what happens to potentially them getting compromised? So when it comes to security awareness, it's such a deep topic, and why, Monty and myself are doing this, and it's great that you're getting into it, Ali, as well. But you see so many people kind of go, I can't afford it. I don't need it. And those are the ones that get compromised, because they're the ones that go, oh, I didn't know it would happen to me. And then they get hit, and then that's when the problem lies. So that's why having these conversations, and I agree, the companies need to start to kind of invest in, which a lot of them do, but it needs to kind of be this global where it's awareness of the personal awareness as well as the corporate awareness.
Yeah, Ali hit on a real good point earlier. See, all we're talking about, you guys, this is a confidence game, okay? If I can make you believe that I know you because I've done some research on family members, I found out what you like and what you don't like. Guess what? Now you let your guard down. Maria Konnikova, she's an author of a book called The Confidence Game, and when you get a chance, you may want to take a look at it. She's talking about, it's basically an investigation of the minds and methods of con artists. That's all hackers are. And in the social engineering space, they're con artists. They're making you believe that there's a relationship that exists when actually there is no relationship. I'm just pretending that this long lost relative is at the airport and they're stranded, and I need $5,000 to get them, from wherever they are to somewhere else to see you, for instance, right? But grandma doesn't know any better. And as Brandon pointed out earlier in his scenario that he gave us, you're already rushing down to the ATM by now because, it's an emergency, right? I told you, I gave you enough information about your family name and certain things, Aunt Jessie, P, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? Now you're going for it. So yeah, social engineering is a con game, and it dates way back when to the 20th, I think in the 20th century, early 20th century, there were some individuals who basically demonstrated to us where this all came from. Okay. And let me see, who were they? There was I'll give you a quick scenario. There was a situation where there was a con game going on. Okay. These two con artists told people that, look, that I know someone who has information about successful horses that can win a race, right? And he had inside information because this particular telegraph operator was disgruntled, and she would give me this information. You could bet on these horses, and it was a sure bet, right? Everybody wants good inside information, right? So everybody pitched in, and they threw money at the two con artists, and there was no inside information from a telegraph operator because they all made it. It was all made up. But he was able to get their confidence on the sure bet and make a ton of money. This is in the early 20th century. Okay, so that was offline. But guess what? This transitioned online. So we're doing the same thing. It's a con game, and we need to be aware and learn how to double check these things.
Oh, for sure. I mean, so Ali, what's one tip if you're gonna advise someone about social engineering attacks? What's one tip you'd give someone to protect them and help prevent them being a victim?
One tip would be check your social media. What's open to the public, and who's your friend on social media.
Okay. What about yourself, Monty?
I think we need to call around to our various vendors, suppliers, cell phone service providers. Ask them whether or not we have the ultimate security things in place. If someone calls, are you going to ask them for PIN codes and passwords and send text messages? So yeah, call around to everyone you do business with and make sure you put all those things in place so that the phishing attacks that Brandon talked about can't take place, because they will be spoofed if it's possible.
So this is the one thing, like when I talk about social engineering, kind of going through this tips and helping people really kind of get some real key safety issues and security when you're coming to social engineering. First, if you get called by any of your companies, whatever service provider, vendors, suppliers, whatever you get called, right, and you kind of don't know the person personally, like Ali calls me and I know Ali, but say John calls me and I don't know who John is, hang up the phone and call the company back directly, right? Call the company back directly. If you don't know who it is you're talking, don't provide any information. All right? Get as much information from them as you can. What's a concern? What are you calling about? And so what happens when you call back the company and say, hey, you know what? I got called by X, Y, and Z, and they're asking about this. And they can validate, we're actually doing that, or no, we're not. Right? And don't take their number, and I've heard this before, don't take John's number. Actually go and find the number and call the company back. Because I've had that where John, would call and say, no, here, call me back at this number, right? Call me back at my direct line. right? And what happens, it's their spoof number, whatever that may be, and they're still continuing the social engineering attack. It's just they're kind of making sure that they overcome any objections. Second, like Monty is saying, call all your suppliers, all your vendors and all that, and make sure you have separate double authentication. So if you're working with your phone provider, your TV provider, whatever that may be, don't use the same security code across all those platforms. If they ask for a 4-digit code, don't use 1234 as your code, and don't use it across all of them. Use different codes for different providers, and create a notebook, create somewhere where you can have it secure. Be careful online. If it's online, make sure it's encrypted, but keep that secure. So what happens is each one is different, because you get compromised on one. It means the ethical hacker, like myself, when we're doing testing, we can kind of validate that you're secure at least on all platforms. If you get compromised on one, a hacker, what they'll do is they'll hack one. If they can compromise one, they'll go through the rest, right? Because most people, what they do is they keep the same password, the same double authentication across all platforms. So if I can compromise your weakest, service provider, I can get through all. Next is, like Monty was saying before, make sure that the service providers know that there's only key people that can call. So now you have a double authentication that now there's a passcode, but then they have to validate who that person is, right? And make sure that is secure. You go through this level of security. I know, yes, it's a little bit of a hassle right now, but what happens is the harder you make it for hackers to get through, and yes, you might have to make a little bit of layers for yourself, it makes your systems, your solutions, your identity, all that a little bit more secure and harder for hackers to do it. And it's going to be a waste of time for them. They're going to move on to someone that's more easier to do and that can compromise faster. They don't want to spend hours and weeks and months on compromising if it's not worth it for $500. They want to compromise someone that's easy, quick, they're in and out. What do you guys think about those?
Those are very, very key points that you brought up, Brandon. Mm-hmm. And I think, what you guys may want to do, if this is a little bit overwhelming, maybe Brandon can talk to you about, give you some sort of template or something so that you can check off, what have I done, okay? And maintain that list and keep it up to date. We're all told all the time, check your insurance policies, check your life, whatever policies, and see if they're up to date and make sure you got the appropriate amount of insurance. Well, guess what? In the cyber world, it's no different. I need to constantly go through. When did I last change the password? Okay. How long is it? Is it long enough? What about the children and the kids and everyone else? Okay. So yeah, maybe we can develop a checklist, and every so often, 6 months at a time or something, maybe even last 3 months probably, and check it off and go through it and call Brandon or get on some sort of schedule with him and have him go through these various things so we can make sure that we're absolutely covered.
Well, if they go to my website, www.knssconsulting.com, there's actually a support system. There's actually, you can register for the emails too. All this information is provided to people as they log in. They kind of be part of the community that we can help them. And the reason why we do that is because we want to have an intimate relationship with people, because we want to make sure they're secure and they have all the information and they have a resource that they can ask questions. It's not like they're in and out and then they're compromised or they're vulnerable in other areas. So we want to make sure that they're part of the community, and we make it very cost effective, because like Ali said, there's a lot of times that people can't afford it, right? So exactly. Very cost effective that when people need that support, it's available to them, because we don't want them to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on support when they're already spending that to try to recover. We want them to have that support team that's available to them. It's easy to use, easy for them to get in and out, right? To be able to get the information they need, to have the support, and to be able to get back up and going. So
very good.
So now let me ask you guys something. Oh, sorry, Ali, did you have a question?
No, I would like to add, people should be aware of the information they share online. Like, for example, a simple thing on Facebook, everybody's birthday. And if you're going to call a company to do a transaction or something, one of the main questions to authenticate you is asking of what's your date of birth. And simple information like this that's used to authenticate people are available online on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere you post.
And that's why I was saying for the double authentication, make sure they have the actual code or passphrase or something they use on top of that, because what happens, you're right, they can get your mailing address, your date of birth, right? Your
Right.
probably even your mother's maiden name, right? Because they're part of your list, your friends on Facebook or on, you know, social sites. They can kind of get that information. But what happens if you have a passphrase or a security code, it's going to be a lot harder for them to get.
Exactly.
Right? So it's a good point, Ali. Now let me ask you guys, talking about social engineering, do you guys do banking online?
Oh, yes,
Do
definitely.
you shopping online?
Yep.
Now,
Yes.
is your accounts, now I know I kind of have an understand where Monty's going to answer this, but this is for everyone else that's watching. Is your accounts that you're shopping online, is it associated to all your other accounts? So, for example, I've done a survey and asked people, most banking companies now, CIBC, TD Bank, Scotiabank, and all the, you know, the big banks, try to create a profile for you. One login, and all your banking accounts are under one profile, right?
No.
And this is my question to you. Do you do online banking, online shopping through those accounts? What would you say, Ali?
No, I never, like, I didn't even heard of combining these things together.
Okay, check your accounts now, like, and don't do it right now, but like when privacy in a secure location where no one's around, right? Go and check your bank and see. A lot of them now are putting your checking, your savings, and your investment under one login, one profile.
Okay, I think I know. Yeah, what you're referring to. As far as having multiple accounts at one bank.
Having multiple accounts, if you have like a checking, and this is like say people are personal. You have your personal checking account where you get your pay, you know, you get your money that come in if you're employed by a company. You have your savings account, maybe you're saving for, you know, early retirement. You have some investments. You might have your mortgage. It's all under one profile that you log into.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason why I'm saying that is what happens now is that people are compromising that one profile.
Oh,
and
sure.
They compromise.
Sure.
This is where it comes back to social engineering, right? When you look at financial, something I'm more recommending to people now is instead of doing your online banking, right, through that one profile, your shopping and anything that you're doing with e-commerce actually is a separate profile, completely different, completely separate.
Good idea. Exactly.
Because what happens is banks are going to argue with you. It's going to cost you more money. But what banks don't tell you is that one account with all those accounts in it gets compromised, your whole financial profile gets compromised. People could take a mortgage out in your name. People could take your finances. People can, you know, corrupt any of your checking or your savings account. They can do all that. They can transfer money back to themselves, all because maybe you went shopping online and you entered in a username and password to confirm your transaction, which gave authorization to your bank, and now they got in.
Another thing before I forget, for those of you who have hosting with a third-party company, for instance, there's something called a Whois registry where I can literally go type in Whois and a domain name and find out exactly who is the technical contact for Brandon or Ali or myself, who is the administrative contact, what is it, what servers, where are the servers, are they telephone numbers? Are there telephone numbers associated with that information at the same time? And that information, according to what I understand, Brandon can elaborate on this, doesn't necessarily have to be public. You can actually nowadays you can hide that information, right? What are the implications of keeping that information public, Brandon, versus hiding it? You have any pros or cons in terms of why somebody would want to take a look at one or the other?
So what happens is most people keep it public because they have business partners and associates. They want to kind of validity that it's a valid company. And if people have any information, they can contact these key point contacts. So the business owner, the billing person, because if someone, and you give you an example, say you're a company that's software as a service, right? You want to talk to the key technical person, maybe a key support person.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Right? You want to know who the owner of the company is to see if it's a valid company. So sometimes that's the way why people want to keep it public, because they want to show it's a valid company. There's support system
Right.
and people there. So when people do a Whois search, they can validate that it's a valid company, and the people that they see on the website is back in the back end of the hosting.
Oh, okay. Same people. Okay.
Right? So,
yeah.
But as a security professional, when it comes to social engineering, yes, I mean, you can potentially get compromised because of that information that's online. So yes, there's ways to do it. A lot of the companies now make you pay for it, right? Make you pay to secure it because it's free to keep it public, but then what happens is you have to pay to keep it secure.
What do you think about that, Ali? You got any input as far as?
No, I know about Whois, and I agree with Brandon about keeping it public to validate your company so people would know. But at the same time, like, I think you should be selective of the information that you provide there, so you won't be target of an attack.
Most people do that, Ali, and both Monty. Most people find is that they have their company address, right? Because it's public information. You want your people to know where to reach you. Company address, company contact information, and then the key contacts that are already public information, part of your support network or the owner of your company. It's already public information anyways. Most people go that way instead of giving like a sole proprietor that works from home. Yeah, that was one I would say no, they shouldn't keep their information public. But a company or corporation who are already doing mass mailing, putting out their address and their information out there, it's public information now anyways. It's not going to harm them that they do that. They're not going to be socially engineered compromised because it's on their website because the information is already publicly available.
Well, let me ask you guys another question. I was reading that also. See, we like to have convenience in our lives, and Brandon brought it up earlier. When we shop on eBay, when we compile wish lists on Amazon, okay, that literally tells me a lot about you, right? What do you want to buy? What have you purchased? What about that type of information being made available? And is that a potential problem, or what do you think? What do you think about wish lists and some of these other ways where they accumulate information about our purchases, like on eBay or something like that, a registry or something, wedding registry or whatever?
What do you think, Ali?
It's again like the thing I said about spearfishing attack or whale fishing. Like if I know I know Brandon want to buy that new guitar. I can see guitar behind you.
Yeah.
And I'm that guy from that band who's gonna play locally in Toronto near you, and I know you're excited about music and guitars and those stuff. Like, I can get closer to you with these information. Someone believes that they are simple information, but I know that this person is passionate about that thing.
Okay.
So the one thing I would talk about is data mining, right? So what happens is what they're doing is companies are trying to collect as much information on you or about you so that what happens is they can market to you. So that they know I'm interested in guitars. Now they can market to me guitar accessories. They can market to me bands, guitar lessons. They can do all that because they've data mined my profile, right? They data mined my experience online. They've looked through my cookies online to see what sites I go to, what am I shopping for, what am I doing, what do I have in my wish list. So we're talking about kind of company data mining and collection, but that also is on the other side of a hacking, gives me an idea of where I can compromise you on a hacking standpoint as well.
Wow.
Right? Because what happens is I can data mine you and say, Ali, I know you're doing security. I know you like blue shirts and golf shirts, maybe potentially golf, right? So I can data mine that to turn and sell as a company. But as a hacker, I can sit there and send you, maybe an advertisement about, 50% off golf clubs. Well, now what happens? I send that, but all the malicious code's in the back of the ads. So you click on it, and now I'm in. Because I know I've data mined you to say, okay, I know what you're interested in. So I know where you're going to click, or there's going to be a higher percentage for you're going to click if I send you this email.
Let me also make you guys aware of something. I want you to call Brandon right away because this is an important thing that's come up with Google and Facebook, for instance. They're actually giving us the opportunity to better manage our privacy settings. See, a lot of the information doesn't necessarily have to be out there as prevalent as it is now. You can take back and control a little bit more in terms of how you look to me when I'm going out there trying to search, information about you. Mm-hmm. Some things are important. A lot of things aren't. Okay. So you may want to contact Brandon right away and figure out, let's go through my Facebook settings one by one and security protocols that Facebook is offering, because believe it or not, our government is starting to put just a little bit more pressure and say, look, you guys, give the tools to the customers, your users, and change some of these things around a little bit, so there's not that much information out there, and it can be intimidating for a lot of people actually when you start looking at all the various choices. So contact Brandon right away. Go through your Facebook, go through your Google accounts, and log into those profiles with him and talk about what you need to keep to yourself as compared to what's actually showing up on the search engines when I do a query, because a lot of that information you can control a lot more effectively now.
And the thing is, and I agree with Monty, the things we have to look at when you're looking at that information, Ali's brought this point up as well, is that you have to look at what's public information, what you need for your career. Maybe you're going for the recruiters. You need that, information that's available out there, because that's how they're searching for you, and that's how they're creating a profile about you to see if you're the right fit. And also you have to look at what should be private, that's personal to you, because some of that information that you're maybe putting online doesn't need to be out there, right? Maybe it needs to be a little bit more secure. So Monty's brought up a great point. So we're coming up. We got like 2 more minutes left in the show. Ali, thank you so much for coming out to jumping on. Any last tips, any advice you'd like to give?
Thanks, Ali.
You'd like to give anyone?
Thank you. Just review your information online. And the hard thing about what you just said is to assess if that information should be public or should be private. Just like, I believe like most of the things should be private unless there is a point of making it public. Just think about that.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So Monty, we're coming up on the last minute. Any tips, any advice?
No, take the video, share it with everyone. Share it with your kids, relatives, pets, enemies. Share it with everyone imaginable. Let's get the word out. Let's become cyber literate. And you owe me 5 cents every time you say that. So that's it.
We're gonna have to trademark that phrase for you.
There you go.
So one thing I recommend is this, okay? If you're a company, if you're a person that just online dealing with technology, you need to do cybersecurity awareness or IT security awareness training. Doesn't matter if you're a mom working at home, or having one of the hardest jobs that you're just a mom at home, or you're an entrepreneur, solo entrepreneur, big business. Everyone needs to take security awareness training. It's a must in this day and age when it comes to technology. Right. Like I said in the start of the show, I was at Best Buy, and they're selling Wi-Fi devices that are not hardened, they're not updated. And when I asked them the tough questions, I sent this out through an email yesterday. Is the device updated? When's the last time it was patched? When was the manufacturing date? Can I patch the device? I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know, right? This is the thing.
No.
And these are the guys selling these devices. So that's what I'm saying. You need to take security awareness courses, right? And just training, just to kind of get that base knowledge. And it's not the point I want you to be a security expert and you're going to go work in the field. It's to be able to protect you, your family, your business, your colleagues, your contractors, your vendors, so that you're doing the right things day in and day out, so you're protected. And they're protecting you because they know what to do. And that's why, like Monty said, share this out, because the weakest link in your security is the one that doesn't know. Now, one thing I want to leave to you guys, and I just kind of remind you, software is hackable. Being connected is vulnerable. If you don't keep that in the back of your mind, you're going to get caught.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. So next week, what we're going to talk about now, Monty, what do you want to cover next week? I mean, there's so many things when it comes to cybersecurity. What do you think we should cover?
I think we better concentrate on something geared towards children. You brought it up earlier, and I really think that we're not starting off soon enough as far as the education. The adults is one thing, but the children, that could be a very interesting subject geared towards children themselves.
Okay.
Translating, communicating to kids.
I completely agree. So what we're going to do is next week, if you guys are watching this, if you know any parents, single parents, mother, father, whatever that may be, grandparents, whatever parents have them come out to the next week's show, because you know what? We're going to talk about cybersecurity for children, what they need to know, what they need to be aware of, what's out there online, these predators, these scary people, what hides in the dark. We're going to talk about all those great things.
Great.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good seeing you guys. Thanks for coming in again, Ali. You guys have a good day, okay?